Senator Ernst.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor Corbett, thanks again for being here. Mayor, do you believe the safety of your citizens and the economic security of your region is vulnerable because you haven't been able to get the critical assistance that we talked about earlier from the Corps? And if so, could you explain further on that?
Thank you, Senator. Yes, our community is vulnerable, not just from a life safety standpoint, but from an economic standpoint. As I made mention in my open remarks, the recovery of Cedar Rapids has been phenomenal as we actually gained population in the last census, and the business community has reinvested in our town. So we do have that momentum and that restored confidence in our community. Now, we haven't sat idly by the last 9 years since the flood. We've actually been working locally to incorporate flood mitigation efforts in our town. Right after the flood, the recession hit. 4 months later, our own citizens voted for a sales tax referendum, an increase of 1 penny for 60 months to help provide additional resources to our community. And our state government stepped up. You know it very well. You were there in the state legislature and approved a funding mechanism when the Corps, through the cost-benefit ratio, said that they could only even recommend protecting the east side of Cedar Rapids and not the west side. We rejected that formula that said one side of town was the other side of town wasn't worthy. Our mechanism with the state is going to pay 100% of the west side flood protection. So our ask of the federal government is just the 65% for east side flood protection. But until there's some changes in the cost-benefit ratio, we're going to be compared with other communities around the country that just have higher property values.
Yes, absolutely. Quite well put, Mayor. And I want to thank you for the hard work that you've done for the community of Cedar Rapids and for the state of Iowa. Thank you. General Semonite, it is good to see you again. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and go over these tough issues. I wrote to you last fall asking about how human safety is considered in the decision process to budget and fund flood risk reduction projects. The Corps then sent me a letter back in December stating that these decisions are determined on a case-by-case basis. And then a list was provided to me of the FY 2017 projects that were funded for construction because of the significant risks they pose to human safety. Now, these they also have low BCRs. They're very similar to what we see in Cedar Rapids. And I noticed that 4 out of the 5 projects were in California. Can you explain to me why the lives and livelihoods of Californians are worth more than the lives and livelihoods of Iowans, particularly since California is a very vast state with large amounts of economic resources?
Senator, great question, and I think I said when you were out, but every single American, every single property of all the same value. I mean, we've got to be able to continue to take care of all of the country. And so one of the things Cedar Rapids has done better than almost anywhere else of figuring out how to mitigate this significant challenge. You're very, very aware you have an authorized project. The big question is the ability to be able to find funding to be able to do it. And the mayor's exactly right. There's a lot of concerns out there. We are worried. We've made a significant federal investment when it came to the authorization of that. We're continuing to figure out to do every single thing we can to try to find how we can now secure the right amount of money to be able to at least start that. The challenge we have, and this goes back to, I think, why we're all here today, is that the requirements grossly exceed the amount of money in the federal budget. Just the federal dams alone, $24 billion to be able to buy down the worst ones. Now, we're getting funded to capacity, and the Congress has done a good job of taking care of us on the federal ones. But when it comes to all of these other areas for flood control, the question is, how can we try to hit all those requirements? The best thing we can do is to continue to work with you to figure out, are there other parameters or other solutions that we can somehow be able to figure out how to take care of the mayor out there? The benefit-cost ratio can't be the right answer because, like you said, sir, we can't can't run this country on an algorithm. We got to think about the passion of the people and all the work they've done out there. But right now, we continue to try to champion that project the best we can. We'll continue to be able to work with you. But I think at the end of the day, when the administration has to figure out how much can we afford, then elements like this are going to have to figure out, are there some of those that you can then take a look at that risk and where can we afford to be able to buy that risk down?
I appreciate that, General, and I do look forward to working with you on a solution that will not only benefit those that live in more urban areas or urban states, but also those that are finding challenges in the rural areas. This is a very important project, not just for Cedar Rapids, but for the well-being of the entire state of Iowa. So I will continue to push for that. I'm glad that we can work together. And, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for bringing committee together today to talk about these important issues. I know that we struggle with some of those same issues in Wyoming, in Iowa, in Nebraska, and I look forward to finding that solution.